In 1867, Russia sold a piece of land almost as big as Europe for $7 million, about 2 cents per acre. Today that land is worth trillions, so why did Russia do it? And why did Americans even want this frozen piece of nothing? That's exactly what this video is about. By the way, my son gave me this word for the video. In 1867, Russia sold a piece of land almost the size of half of Europe. The price? $7,200,000, about 2 cents per acre. Today, Alaska's oil, gas, and natural resources are worth trillions of dollars. American newspapers laughed at the purchase. They called it a waste of money. They called it a giant icebox. Then they found gold. Then oil. Then it turned out Alaska was one of the most important military positions in the Pacific Ocean. Here's the thing, Russia wasn't stupid, and it wasn't a betrayal. From where Russian leaders stood in 1867, this was a rational decision in a very difficult situation. This is a real story of why Russia sold Alaska. In 1741, a Danish explorer walking on the Russian Empire, Vitus Bering, sailed into the North Pacific and reached the coast of Alaska. He mapped it, he claimed it. That's right. Alaska wasn't discovered by Americans or British, it was discovered by Russians. The first Russian settlers came for fur, sea otters, beavers, fur seals. Their pelts were worth serious money in Europe and China. Alaska was basically a giant fur factory. In 1799, Russia created the Russian-American Company, a state monopoly controlling all trade in Alaska. The main city of the colony was Novoarkhangelsk. Today, it's called Sitka. In the early years, the company made good money. Russia controlled a huge territory and traded with China and California. But then things started going wrong. The problem was simple. Russian hunters were too good at their job. After decades of intense hunting, the populations of sea otters and fur seals dropped sharply. The main source of income for the colony was disappearing fast. Profits fell. And what was left? A cold, faraway, nearly empty territory thousands of miles from St. Petersburg. The logistics were a nightmare. Supplying the colony across the Pacific Ocean was expensive and difficult. By the 1860s, Alaska had gone from an asset to a burden. The total population of the colony was around 10,000 people, mostly indigenous. There were fewer than 1,000 Russian settlers, and honestly most Russians didn't even think about Alaska. It was so far away that the average Russian had no idea it existed. Then came the Crimean War, 1853 to 1856. Russia fought against Britain, France, and the Ottoman Empire. Russia lost. It lost money, people, and international prestige. After that war, Russia's state finances were under serious pressure. The army was weakened. The country needed money and it needed peace. And then there was another problem. Britain. British Columbia bordered Alaska through Canada. If a new war with Britain broke out, and that was a real possibility, British troops could simply march through Canada and take Alaska for free. Russia had no way to defend such a distant territory. So Russian leadership asked a simple question: if you might lose Alaska anyway, who should we sell it to? The answer was obvious: the United States. In the 1860s, Russia and America had good relations. America wasn't a threat to Russia's interests. And if someone was going to control Alaska, better the Americans than the British. This wasn't weakness. This was called practical thinking. The negotiations were led by Russian Ambassador Edward Stockel and American Secretary of State William Seward. Seward was obsessed with expanding America. He wanted Alaska badly. He pushed for the deal even when everyone around him was skeptical. Here is a fun detail. The treaty was signed at 4 in the morning. The negotiations ran through the entire night and finished at dawn on March 30th, 1867. Kind of feels like they were rushing before someone changed their mind. The price? $7,200,000. In today's money, that's roughly $150 million. Sounds like more, but still laughably small for a territory twice the size of Texas. The money was handled through banking operations in London. There was commissions and conversion costs along the way, but the main sum reached Russia. The reaction of the American press was not exactly enthusiastic. Newspapers called Alaska Russia, the land of walruses. Seward's folly, Seward's big mistake, Seward's icebox, Seward's giant freezer. Why would America want a pole to use this territory at the edge of the world? What's even there besides ice and polar bears? There was a lot of skepticism in the press and in public. Seward was mocked in newspapers. Cartoonists drew him buying a box of ice for 14. But the Senate approved the deal with a strong majority, 37 votes to 2. Then 30 years passed. In 1896, gold was discovered in the Klondike region, in what is now the Yukon Territory of Canada. But the road to the gold fields ran straight through Alaska. Through Alaskan towns like Skagway and Juneau, thousands of gold seekers poured into the region from all over America. The gold rush. In just a few years, hundreds of millions of dollars worth of gold was pulled out of the ground. Then they found oil, right in Alaska. Massive reserves, some of the largest in North America. Then came World War II. Alaska turned out to be one of the most strategically important points in the entire Pacific. Japanese actually captured several Aleutian Islands. Without Alaska, the American military position in the Northern Pacific would have been a disaster. Today, Alaska gives America oil, gas, fish, tourism, and a major military presence in the Pacific. William Seward wasn't a fool, he was a genius. Nobody just knew it for another 30 years. Myth number 1. Alaska wasn't sold, it was leased for 100 years. This is completely made up. The sale treaty was signed in 1867. Alaska was sold forever. There was never any this in any document anywhere. This myth appeared during the Soviet era and is still floating around the internet today. Myth number 2. The money was lost. A ship carrying the gold sank. Also not true. The money was transferred through banking operations in London. The legend that all gold sank with the ship is simply didn't happen. The main sum reached Russia. Myth number 3. Russia regrets selling Alaska and wants it back. This is politics, not history. We'll leave it that one alone. So was selling Alaska a mistake? From where Russian leaders stood in 1867 not really. They had a cold, expensive, faraway colony they probably couldn't defend. Finances under pressure, a real threat from Britain, a willing buyer right next door. They couldn't know about the gold. They couldn't know about the oil. They made a decision based on what they knew at the time. Sometimes history makes you look stupid. Not because you were stupid, but because you couldn't see the future. That's the real story of Alaska. If you want more stories like this, subscribe to Crazy Russian History. See you in the next one.